Welcome back to Cooking with Kayla D. I'm Kayla, and this is my husband Randy. My disclaimer. If you haven't done so, please subscribe and remember to hit that notification bell so you get all the up-to-date episodes. Also, feel free to leave a comment so we can get to know you and hear your feedback on our videos, and also share. Sharing is caring. This week we're making chicken and dumplings. Yummy! For your dumpling ingredients, you will need 2 cups of flour, 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of cold butter, and 1.5 cups of milk. And for your best chicken broth ever for this recipe, here is a link on the right. First, you want to take your flour and you want to get it into a bowl. I also added my salt and my baking powder directly into that dry bowl. You want to make sure to stir your dry ingredients together well and get them well incorporated. So I put my baking soda in and now my salt. And now I'm going to go ahead and take a spatula and stir that together. You could also use a whisk if you would like to, or a fork. You just want to make sure to combine that pretty well before you add in your wet ingredients, which is our butter and our milk. I have ice cold butter right out of the fridge. You want to do this just like you're doing biscuits. I got my cheese grater out on a small grate and grated that directly into my bowl. And once I had that grated, I started kneading it into the flour. First, I sprinkled flour all on top of the butter so the butter's not sticking together into clumps. You can also use a dough cutter for this, but you want to basically keep squishing this together, rubbing it through your fingers or through your hands. Trying not to warm it up so much, but trying to get it evenly dispersed throughout your flour. That is going to give you the best, fluffiest dumpling that you could possibly get from this. So you want to continue to do this until you can see that it's kind of like a clumpy sand. Then you're going to add your milk directly in there and start mixing this up. And you want to have a sticky consistency on this. You don't want it to be super wet, and you don't want it to be dry as well. You want it to be sticky. So for me, I put half of my milk in, and then I start adding a little bit at a time, about a tablespoon at a time, until I get it to the right consistency. I finally just took my paddle and stuck it to the side and got in there with my hands, because that is the best way to know. Now, if it ends up being a little too wet, you can sprinkle in a little bit more of the flour if you would like. But for me, it seems to be pretty well done right now. As you can see, it's sticky. I can drop balls in, and it's going to make a perfect fluffy dumpling. So that's exactly what we want right here. Next, you're going to take that chicken and chicken broth that you have boiling on your stove. And as always, I'll have the recipe for this perfectly best ever chicken broth at the end of this video, as well as I named it a few seconds ago. You're going to take a spoon and start dropping in your dumplings about the size you would want them. They will expand a little bit, so if you want them to be like a golf ball size, use your tablespoon. If you want them to be bigger, go ahead and make them bigger. I always do a couple small ones and a couple big ones, and then kind of just see how much dough I have left after that. And I want to leave a little bit of dough in the bowl because we're going to use that. Right now, you want to go ahead and continue to cook your dumplings. Put a lid over it, but leave it cracked so it does not boil over. For that little bit of leftover dough, I'd say about a tablespoon or 2, you want to add about a 1/4 cup of milk to that, and you're going to get a whisk, and you want to whisk this until it's well blended. Also pulling the dough off of the sides of the bowl as much as you can, because this is going to be your natural thickener to thicken the broth for your dumplings. Once you have whisked that really well and got off as much batter as you can, you want to go ahead and go to your dumplings and remove the lid. You're going to want to gently turn your dumplings over. This is 5 minutes of cooking. After you've cooked it for 5 minutes, you'll now want to go flip those dumplings over and be very gentle about it so they don't break apart too much. Just flip them gently one by one. Don't worry about them getting on top of each other. Don't worry about being perfect about it. Just try to do it as gently as you can so you can hold the entire dumpling together. Now you're going to go ahead and pour in that mixture of the thickener that we had put together. Try to get it in between your dumplings. You want to very gently take a cooking utensil and slide it gently in between the dumplings and then move it around underneath your dumplings as much as you can, stirring it into your broth. But as you can see, I did it very gently and I didn't overdo it. Then you're going to go ahead and take your lid and place it back on your pot, and you want to make sure again to leave that crack so it does not boil over, but that it is covered. And you'll want to go ahead and cook this for an additional 5 minutes. As you can see, our dumplings are done. I went ahead and flipped them over just one more time. I like to do that before serving them. Then I will go ahead and turn off my stove and start getting dishes out to serve this. Look at how delicious and thick the broth got. It's perfect. So I now have my 2 bowls out because it's just my husband and myself eating this evening. I want to give 1 big dumpling and a couple small dumplings into the bowl, as well as a bunch of chicken and that broth with it. Sometimes we like to steam up some white rice and put that in the bottom of our bowl first, and then go ahead and put our dumplings on top. But tonight we're choosing not to have all of those extra carbs. I think these carbs are plenty. So you can do this with paleo flour, and you also can do this with your keto flours as well. There are very low carb or paleo options for this recipe. You can change things up. It is very simple, and you just follow the instructions the same when doing a lower carb recipe. This recipe was simply delicious and it turned out wonderful. We always love having chicken and dumplings. So this is the recipe for the fluffy dumpling. I will cut into that dumpling right now and let you see just how fluffy and beautiful it turned out inside. Cut that in half, turn it over, and look at that. It is a fluffy, delicious dumpling. We will do strips sometime this winter, so then you can have that option for your chicken and dumpling recipe. We thank you for joining us here from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. As always, we have beautiful photos to share with you. Here is a sunrise over the ocean. It is always beautiful to enjoy the sunrise. And here is the moon shining brightly over the water. We just wanted to share with you from sunrise to sunset.
Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty by which Christ has made us free, and do not be entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Galatians 5:1.
And as always, we thank you for being here on Cooking with Kayla D. We hope to see you again soon. If you click the icon here to the left, you can subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so, and please hit that notification bell to get all the up-to-date episodes. As well as, here is that best ever chicken broth recipe. Here to the right, if you click on that, that is the beginning of your chicken and dumpling recipe. Thank you for joining. Stay in that kitchen and keep on cooking. God bless. Until next time.